What it is, what it do, cyber world. It is your girl, the one, the only, Ash Said It. AshSaidIt.com, AshSaidIt.com. Welcome to the Ash Said It Daily Podcast Show. I appreciate you guys for all of your love and support. Over 1,700 episodes and 500,000 streams worldwide. None of this would be possible without you guys. So, I thank you so very, very much. And yes, we are well into the summer months, darling. And I know the babies are getting ready to go back to school, but I heard about a pretty awesome project I want to share with you guys. So I've got my friend here, Kevin Sherwin, and of course the wonderful Joshua Banbury with me today. Hey, you guys.
Hello, hi.
How are you guys doing today?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having us. This is exciting.
Oh,
it's our first podcast interview.
Yes, the energy. You know, you got to keep it going, keep it moving. All right, so to start things off, how did you connect? How did this collaboration even come to be?
This collaboration has been in process for, I think, maybe like 3 or 4 years now. Kevin and I started off as friends. We did a gig in New York City together with an organization called Young Arts. And we just connected. After that, I was working on a play about a black man who goes to Kentucky to study dulcimer and banjo right after Trump is elected into office. And so there's a lot of drama behind that. And Kevin really took interest in it, and we started to bond over strange folk music, old folk songs. And Kevin, you work at the music library at Yale. He was able to sing all kinds of interesting songs. Yeah.
I had my own obsession with, early Americana and early folk music, and just all the cool directions that goes into, and looking at these old books and old recordings from the 30s, 40s, 50s, hearing about these stories and hearing about the music.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And so we later on got a grant from Young Arts in the middle of 2020, last year, after I had moved from New York back to Texas. I wanted to do something that sort of honored my passion for this music, and I also wanted to contribute to the legacy of great black folk singers and legitimize the form. I come from a classical singing background, and I was often I wouldn't say forced, but when you're in school, you're required to learn all kinds of traditional classical music, but we often overlook traditional classical American music, which is really folk music. So we decided to collaborate and do this project, and it was quite an adventure.
Yes, indeed. So, from the time that you guys, you decided to collaborate with Kevin, you guys are like, you know what, let's do this, let's make this happen. How long did it approximately take you to complete?
Started August or September 2020, if I'm getting that right, Josh.
Yep.
And and now it's being released in August, and there were many stages to the process, and the creatively cool thing about the pandemic was you had the freedom to work on something without such a strict or set deadline. So we really got to delve into this process. But we selected the music, we arranged it, we kind of curated our own collection, and then there was the process of mixing it. And we worked with a fantastic audio engineer who had gotten in touch with Joshua because he loved Joshua's voice so much. Engineer Fraser McKnight. And so we were working on mixing it, and that brought a whole
new dimension
to the project. He's in London, England, yeah.
London.
Yes. That's and then we also had the visual artist who did the artwork for the cover. He's based out of I think Toronto, somewhere in Canada. Bruno Ledet.
Yep.
Kevin, you know, yeah.
Ledet, I think.
Yeah, and he was able to do the artwork for us at a very, very low nominal fee.
Gotcha.
as a favor for us.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about Forgotten Folklore. What is the story?
Mm-hmm.
What is it? What you guys wanted to portray?
For me, the story of Forgotten Folklore is honoring people of color and people who are often overlooked when we think about American folk music. Oftentimes we have an image of poor white people in Kentucky, West Virginia, and Appalachia. Even in the Deep South, playing the banjo on a porch,
Yeah.
But and the reality of American folk music is that it's rooted in Western African traditions, and it's also equally rooted in Irish folk traditions of ballad singing and all of that, and that's how you get American folk music. And so it's honoring both sides of that. I'm honoring my ancestors who, I'm a 8th generation Texan. So I'm honoring my legacy here in Texas and knowing that I come from enslaved people here in Texas. And I was very curious to think of more about they weren't just singing spirituals all day. Right. They weren't always in the field. They were sometimes at home, with their children by a fireplace. Sometimes they were in a garden. Sometimes they were in love. Sometimes they had all sorts of things to sing about, just like we do today. And I was very curious to learn more about what else was there. And the project is so cool because we have that side of the project being my history, but then Kevin, you talk more about your family history and ancestry and how that's played into the project.
Well, absolutely. So, if I were to trace my ancestors, it all goes back to Eastern Europe, and everyone except my grandmother came through Ellis Island, and my grandmother came to the United States after World War II. There's a lot of fleeing persecution, and there's a whole folk music tradition that goes with that tradition of being Jewish, being Eastern European, and this more universal concept of being in a persecuted environment, but what is the way that you express yourself when you're in an oppressed place or a state of oppression? And I think, funny enough, in the past, 50, 60 years, there are a lot of Jewish, musicians who've explored this American folk music that on the surface is just totally different. It's not connected in terms of lineage, but I think they were really drawn to that this music came from a place of oppression, which is, I think, historically a big part of being Jewish, going back generations. So I suppose, me personally, I just love the music. Joshua just loves the music. But when you look at it about these reasons, it's well, yeah, maybe that's why I really resonate, because it belongs to you. Right. It belongs to me. It's hopeful, but it's also lonesome, and there's a pessimistic aspect to it. It's, reminiscing about love, but it's also bitter. There's bittersweet. It's all these mixed, beautiful emotions and soundscapes.
Gotcha. Now, I saw a projected release date. Is it still set for that date?
Yeah, August 5th. It's coming to streaming near you. Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube.
I love it. Get everybody. Snatch them up.
Yep.
I love it. Now, if people want to get some more information about it, and of course, if they want to follow you guys on social media to get all those updates, where do they need to go?
You can check it out on both of our websites. So that's joshuabanbury.com and kevinsherwin.com, and we both have dedicated pages for Forgotten Folklore, you'll see. And then if you are on Spotify, just pre-save that EP, pre-save those tracks, because they're all coming out. We have, 2 singles that are already out and people have been really loving, so that means a lot to us.
Awesome.
Brightest and Best and The Freight are already out. So.
All right.
Yeah.
It's
and we're hoping to do like some sort of lecture tour series in the fall in New York and New Haven and in Texas. So
that sounds awesome.
Just follow some social media as well to stay tuned. Yeah.
All right. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Thank you both for joining us today. We appreciate you so much.
Thank you so much for having us. Really.
Not a problem.
Thank you for giving a damn, because this is, not too many people care about folk music and weird little songs
that's a
and
part,
things like that.
But what you guys said was so true, because that's still a part of our history, regardless of what angle you want to look at it from, or what part of oppression that people have gone through.
Yeah.
That's a part of our history. We need to acknowledge it. And with the way that music is going today, we need to really take up an appreciation.
Look back a little bit to remind ourselves, what is real music? And it wasn't that long ago. We don't have to look that far back.
It wasn't that long ago, but today's music is trash. And I'm putting that on the record. You guys out there putting out trash.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. But no, I definitely appreciate you guys. Keep pushing forward. I know the next project, the next thing that's going to go on, I know you guys are going to hit me up and let me know. So we're gonna book those as well. So I appreciate you guys and everyone that's tuning to the show. Thank you so much for your love and support. Keeping in mind, anyone to tell you that you can't do what you want to do, you look them square in the face. You tell them, don't believe me. Just watch. Watch what I do. Watch me make it happen. Watch me make history. That's what we're doing this for, the history books. Social media is nice, but
or don't watch, and I'll still do
better.
it.
That's right.